Now, this is the how and why of extreme body modifications. For centuries, there's always been people from different cultures with different types of body modification, not to mention that there are various amounts of body modification that have been pushed to the extreme for multiple reasons. In modern times, we change ourselves in order to show that we are our own person. We as people show our past, our heritage, our beliefs, and family. To start at the beginning with mummies that have been founded with tattoos from Asia, Southern Europe, the Middle East, and many other countries. However, this isn't going to be a discussion about tattoos, for we all know the history behind them, and they're not as extreme as people think. We will talk about a few number of tattoos that can be considered extreme and dangerous in terms of placement. For instance, people who get their eyeballs tattooed, the roof of their mouth tattooed, and the bottom of their tongues. The only reason that the placement of these specific tattoos can be considered extreme is because of the permanent damage that can be caused if a mistake were to happen. Um, the permanent damage that can be caused by getting your eyeball tattooed will evidently be a loss of a certain amount of sight or complete blindness. Getting the roof of your mouth tattooed can affect a certain nerve if done wrong, and getting the bottom of your tongues tattooed can affect taste buds and nerve endings. This is hmm, these are just some ways that the placement of those tattoos can really affect a person. However, putting that into perspective, I do personally have to say that every person is different and can be affected differently. Uh, this ends the quick portion about tattoos that I believe would be most relevant to the extremeness of body modifications. The next portion of this informative tour of extreme body modifications will be piercings. From past to present, one of the most known extreme body modifications is the stretched earlobes, otherwise known as plugs, tunnels, or an overall general term, gauge. In some cultures, it is said to protect oneself from evil spirits. Another piercing that is extreme, that is not well known by many people, would be the foreskin piercing. This was common amongst the Greeks for they played sports, and the way it would work would be by using a leather thong that would tether down a man's penis so that it would not move when playing sports, and to prevent athletes and slaves from having sex. More cultures that use their own methods to extreme piercings would be the Romans. According to Laura from Painful Pleasures, the Romans began placing two piercings through a man's foreskin and a woman's labia, so that they could attach a lock and keep them chaste. And this would lead to other ideas. Some European cultures, a man would also pierce his penis so that he would have a hook, so he would be able to hook to the side of his trousers. Another piercing that would be considered extreme would be called the dermal, and the process of the dermal is one section of the body that you want to have a stud, or depending on the jewelry, appear to show on top of the open skin. Moving on to an even more serious and more visible modification known as scarification. This modification can be seen from far and can be done several ways. Um, the way this can be done is by cutting, emphasizing scars, skinning, abrasion, scarification, and chemical scarification. According to Teresa M. Winch from Love to Know, the earliest evidence of scarification is the archaeological site at Ain Ghazal in Jordan. All of the forms of scarification modify the surface of the skin, also known as the dermis. The form of modification that would be considered this form of modification would be considered the most riskiest because it can lead to serious infections and burns. However, this is a controlled injury and can take the longest to heal if not cared for properly. This leads us to the last of the body modification tour, in which we'll be discussing subdermal implants. I'm not talking about breast implants, I'm not talking about Botox. This is the case of slicing a piece of skin and installing a shape made of silicone to lift the skin and eventually let the body fuse with the implant. According to medicalbad.com, the procedure for subdermal implants is quite simple. An incision following the grain of skin is made down to the subcutis. A dermal elevator is used to separate the subcutis from the fascia to create a pocket in which the implant is placed, and then the wound is stitched. This will be one of the fastest done processes in terms of serious body modification. And then all forms of body modification come from culture and beauty standards. The various amounts of body modifications around in today's time is all because of the people in the past who took the initiative to change themselves. Any form of it can be considered a risk. However, the body modification of a person does leave a statement to remember. Thank you.